activity, you will be learning about West Virginia rivers on this page. You can follow along in the geography section of your 4-H project booklet on the page titled Rivers. Long before Europeans ventured into the Appalachians, Native Americans were traveling inland in various types of boats. Early settlers found these methods of travel useful to transport themselves and trade. Rivers have played an important part in West Virginia history. They have provided electricity, methods of irrigation, recreation, transportation of goods, and important water supply. Areas along the banks of rivers have witnessed cultural and economic progress. In most recent times, the rivers have boosted economic development through recreation, tourism, and fishing. Most important, though, is that West Virginia rivers provided residents with an essential water supply. Today, West Virginia rivers provide the cheapest method of transportation available for the shipment of bulk commodities. At present, the Ohio, Monongahela, Big Sandy, and Kanawha rivers are all used for river navigation. Hundreds of millions of tons of cargo are shipped on these rivers each year. Coal and coke are the leading commodities moved by water in West Virginia. As coal mining, railroad, and timber harvesting jobs have been lost, outdoor recreation and tourism have taken over as the primary economic forces in southern West Virginia. The economic importance of tourism is in large part due to the river segments in the region, the New River Gorge River and the Bluestone National Scenic River. These rivers have spurred millions of dollars in investments in visitor facilities, interpretation, and conservation. These investments also provide a backbone of support for the many entrepreneurs and small business owners who rely on tourism for their livelihood. West Virginia rivers have been harvested for their energy since the days of early settlements. During the 19th century, flowing water poured large factories on the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers at Harper's Ferry. By 1900, hydroelectricity was an important source of power in West Virginia, and production has slowly increased since then. The Potomac River is rich in history and prehistory. Archaeologists believe that humans were present as hunters and gatherers in the Potomac watershed before 10,000 BC. George Washington encouraged James Rumsey in the development of a steamboat that was successfully demonstrated on the Potomac at Shepherdstown in 1787. During the Civil War, the Potomac River served as the boundary between the Union and the Confederacy. The Potomac River is noted for its great recreational value. The South Branch River runs down from West Virginia's highest mountains. Seneca Rocks, West Virginia's best-known landmark, stands on the banks of North Fork in Pendleton County. West Virginia streams have been harnessed for their energy since the early days of settlement. During the 19th century, flowing water powered large factories on the Potomac and the Shenandoah rivers at Harper's Ferry. By 1900, water power was being used for the production of electricity in West Virginia. The Monongahela River has a rich history associated with the western expansion of the nation during the colonial era and with the development of America as an industrial power beginning in the 19th century. The Monongahela River became the river of many dreams for pioneers who trekked over the Allegheny Mountains, some staying to settle and start trading businesses, others moving on to migrate farther west. Beginning in the 1790s, the river became home to a major shipbuilding industry. The Monongahela River is formed by the confluence of the Tigard and the West Fork rivers in Marion County. It flows in a northerly direction into Pennsylvania before joining the Allegheny River at Pittsburgh to become a major headwater of the Ohio River. In upper reaches, it furnishes hydroelectric power to several cities. The Mon is made navigable, utilizing locks, and is a major barge route carrying coal, coke, iron, and steel. The Kanawha River, the longest inland waterway in West Virginia, has formed a significant industrial region of the state since the early 19th century. The Kanawha River is formed at Gauley Bridge, West Virginia, by the confluence of the New River and the Gauley River. The colorful era of steamboats on the Kanawha River is well recorded. The boats were the economic backbone of the valley and contributed to the social and cultural life of the area. The plush boats, show boats, and excursion boats provided an outlet from the rough conditions associated with the salt works and coal fields. Pollution has been one of the most serious problems to deal with concerning the Kanawha River. Industrial and municipal waste has been dumped into the river since salt was manufactured at Malden. As industry increased and communities became larger, pollution on the river became a major problem. Finally, with public support and education, followed by legislation and law enforcement, the river is no longer a health hazard and can once again be used for recreational purposes. The Kanawha River remains the lifeblood of the valley, and it has been since the time of Native Americans. The New River flows through North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia before joining the Gauley River to form the Kanawha River. The origins of the name are unclear. Possibilities include being a new river that was not on the Fry-Jefferson map of Virginia, a Native American name meaning new waters, or the surname of an early settler. Despite its name, the New River is one of the 5 oldest rivers in the world. The fur-trading Bats Fallen expedition of 1671 was the first recorded exploration of the river. Mary Draper Ingalls traversed the gorge during her 1755 escape from Shawnee captivity. Today, the New River is not only scenic, but offers numerous opportunities for whitewater recreation, providing a major economic boost to the area. As people began to settle in the frontier moved farther and farther west. By the middle of the 1700s, British fur traders had crossed the Appalachian Mountains into the Ohio River Valley. They moved into the land that was claimed by both the British colonies and France. Although Native Americans were living on the upper Ohio River Valley at the start of the French and Indian War, their goal was to keep their land, their way of life, and control over their future. They did not want to give up these things. Explorers had claimed the Mississippi River and its tributaries for France. The French colonial economy was based on fur trade with the Native Americans. Because they depended on the Native American trade, they saw the Native Americans as partners and allies. To connect the French settlements and to reach Native American villages, the French used the rivers as the main way of transportation. France always worried about Britain. For hundreds of years, the two countries had fought each other in Europe. In North America, France wanted to keep the British east of the Allegheny Mountains. The British colonists thought the Ohio River Valley belonged to them. They had a strong economy that was based on farming. As the populations grew, the colonists wanted more farmland, and the easiest way to travel was by river. It was hard to travel over the Allegheny Mountains because there are no rivers over the mountains. The Ohio River is the largest tributary by volume of the Mississippi River. The Ohio River contributed to an important role in American history by acting as a primary transportation route during the era of westward expansion. The Ohio River was part of the border that divided free states and slave states. Before and during the Civil War, it was called the River Jordan, by slaves escaping freedom to the north via the Underground Railroad. The Greenbrier River is formed at Durban and is one of the longest rivers in West Virginia. Along most of its course, the Greenbrier accommodated the Seneca Trail. The Greenbrier River is the longest unblocked river left in the eastern United States and is used heavily for recreational pursuits. It has always been a valuable water route. Over 3/4 of the watershed is an extensive karstic cavern system which supports fine trout fishing, cave exploration, and recreation. The unique karstic lands of the Greenbrier Valley constitute one of the world's densest sinkhole plains. This green moonscape of collapsed craters is a unique problem for developers, as it can lead to structures sinking or collapsing if built too close to the craters. The West Virginia State Gemstone is also part of the Green River watershed. The Listronella, or Mississippi fossil coral, a fossilized form of coral exclusively found in Pocahontas and Greenbrier counties. The Cheat River is formed at Parsons, West Virginia, and flows from here generally northward. In 1756, the Eckerly family became the first white settlers to move into the Cheat River Valley when they lodged at Dunkard's Bottom in what is now Preston County, West Virginia. They and a few in the surrounding region were soon forced to abandon their homesteads by hostile Native Americans, and no further attempts at settlement were made until after the conclusion of the French and Indian War. The Cheat River Valley was part of a much larger area dispute in the 1770s, colonies of Pennsylvania and Virginia. This was before parties agreed to extend the Mason-Dixon line westward from Maryland. A state militia facility, Camp Dawson, was established on the banks of the Cheat in Preston County in 1909 and continues to operate today. In the vicinity of Albright, the Cheat has been plagued by pollution, notably in coal mine drainage. Although the rocks downstream from Albright are stained a rusty brown and it has been very low fish population, water quality has been slowly improving since the 1990s. Recently, the Cheat Canyon of the Cheat River, which features Class 4 and Class 5 rapids, has become a favorite destination for whitewater kayaking and rafting. For this activity, we will learn more about 7 of West Virginia's rivers and where they are located on a map. You can read along with me under Section 1, Geography, in your 4-H project booklet. As we go along, you can write the name of each river on the West Virginia map at the end of the section. First up is the Potomac River. So you want to write Potomac on your map where you see it on the slide. The next is the Monongahela River, located in the northern part of the state. This is followed by the Kanawha River, located in the central part of the state, followed by the Ohio River, which runs along the western side of West Virginia. The next is the New River, followed by the Greenbrier River. And last but certainly not least is the Cheat River. Great job, everybody.